Hi everyone and welcome to the Four Takes Movie Podcast, where four lifelong friends, three of them brothers, get together, have a good old piss up this week and watch a movie that we've not seen for ages and we've seen millions of times before, apart from Adam because he's a Jesse.
And this week we're joined by David, who was sadly in gastrointestinal distress last time. How are you feeling, David?
I'm fine.
He's lost 8 pounds since last week.
Hilarious.
True story.
So this week we're going to talk about the 1982 The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing. We've just finished watching it on the TV, and now we're going to give our four takes on the experience. So,
Adam,
what did we think, lads?
Well, Adam's never really seen it before. So, Adam, what did you think?
I have seen it. I've definitely seen it before. I just think I've kind of
blocked it out.
I think I blocked it out. You know those scary things in your life, and you think, well, is that something you really want to carry around with you, thinking about? But no, it is truly an horrendous film. And it does.
It's a good film.
It's a good film. It's a good horror film.
But it's
But Adam doesn't like horror films.
I kind of get away with it. But I tell you what, I did really like the effects, the special effects. But I tell you what, if I was 8 years old and someone put that in front of me, I would shit the bed.
Well, that film was all about the special effects, because at the time, because the special effects were done by Rob Bottin. I had to look this up before I started. The way to pronounce this guy's name is Bottin, not Bottin. But
I bet you learned that at school.
But he was responsible for all of those special effects, and I believe he did American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it, mate. I haven't done that much research on this one, to be honest. I've seen it a few times, and I think it's a solid movie. But I don't rate it as highly as I think the world does.
Well, it's
controversial. People consider this like to be a masterpiece, and I don't think it's that. I get that it's fantastic in regards to how the practical effects look. But I don't know. I find it, even though it's good, I find it a bit boring.
Well, the filmmakers pinch off it all the time. So there's like Quentin Tarantino said The Hateful Eight's influenced by it, and Reservoir Dogs is influenced by it. There's an episode of X-Files. Ice, I think, was also. It's basically just an absolute rip-off of it. There's episodes of Red Dwarf. What would you say? Which one was it?
Polymorph, yeah.
Is that where it turns into like a massive jalfrezi monster?
Yeah,
at the end.
It turns into all sorts.
It's a Vindaloo. Or the only thing that can kill it is a Vindaloo.
No, that's not that one.
Is that not that one? Is it not?
Polymorph's the one where...
Turns into a basketball. What else? A sausage.
Starts off as a kebab and goes up as shorts.
Yeah, it's pretty mental, that one.
Obviously a more light-hearted take on The Thing. But,
not quite as terrifying.
Yeah, there's loads of other film directors basically copy the same idea, which is you have all these people trapped in a single location and they can't leave, and you don't know who to trust. So there's lots of films out there which are basically the exact same idea, but it's an old novel or something.
Yeah,
it came from, or was influenced by.
Yeah, I think it's based off a 1938 novel. I can't remember who it was by, but I think it was something.
It wasn't called The Thing as well. I can't remember what the name of it was, but in the novel it was kind of like described as a blue monster with 3 red eyes, and obviously a massive departure from the original. But I don't think it's based on the original novel, so to speak. I think there was a 50s version, and it's more based on kind of that.
Because the Fly was like a similar thing, wasn't it? Because there was like this 1950s B movie, The Fly.
Yeah.
And then there was The Fly that...
Horrendous, by the way. Have you ever seen it? It's literally just a guy wearing a fly mask.
Big bug head.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to The Thing.
So like, what's our motto.
No, we'll
Keep on topic.
Keep on topic. We're going way off here. But the Thing, obviously directed by John Carpenter. At this point in his career, he's probably very well known because he'd already done things. He'd had the massive success with things like Halloween. So it was probably one of his first major budget movies, because even Halloween was considered low budget at the time. I think he spent a quarter of his budget just on the camera to make it look good.
But can you imagine
Halloween?
Can you imagine going to the pictures to see this for the first time?
This would have messed you up. There's not much like this out at that time.
I would have.
How visceral it is at points as
Especially
well.
in 1982, when they weren't really that bothered about kids going in to see sort of adult films. There would have been kids in there, 13, 14, and going, oh yeah, we'll go and watch this thing called The Thing. And they would never be the same again.
Well, like we're saying, the special effects guy, Rob Bottin, who did this, he was 14-year-old when he got taken under Rick Baker's wing as a special effects prodigy, because he'd seen stuff that this kid had been working on and went, he's going to be really good, this lad. And then he went on to do American Werewolf in London, and then this. I think he ended up getting double pneumonia or something when he was working on this. He was he made himself really, really ill.
Yeah, apparently he
hospitalised after he got finished.
Aye, because he was living at the studio apparently, doing all the special effects works, which I thought was absolutely amazing. And I think that's just that was an open gateway to people in any industry who was doing at the time any special effects with animatronics and things like that, just to go, right, okay, you take us seriously now, don't you? Because I tell you what, that stuff there, I mean, I may have mentioned this before, but you look at Boston Dynamics and all of the technology they're doing, imagine smashing that together with some of the stuff that we've got
the
nowadays.
new Terminator films are going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's
but they did it all with food, PVA glue, papier-mâché, and that's what we've just watched. And it was and it was the basic of basic, and it looks horrendous.
Well, the thing about,
in a good way though.
The thing about this film is it relies a lot on all the special effects. So the film is totally captivating. You can't take your eyes off the screen, but you don't get any sort of real character development. So I was just discussing before we started recording, trying to remember the names of people who were in the film, the names of characters, is really difficult because it's not really important. It's just
they're all gonna die.
You're engrossed in what's happening, and your mind is constantly thinking, who is it?
Other than a few key players, obviously Kurt Russell and what's that guy's name we were talking about before?
Exactly,
Keith David.
Ray Childs, yeah. Everyone else is kind of like a MacGuffin to move the plot along for the thing. Really,
everybody's going to die.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this is a great point, because you talked earlier about that sort of sentiment of this film being made and then sort of remade, and parts of that film being put in other films and other story dynamics. But once again, you look at Red Dwarf, and you mentioned obviously the polymorph that was in that, and you can also say that kind of when Dave Lister in Red Dwarf wakes up and he's sitting there going, "Everybody's dead, Dave. Everybody's dead." And it's basically it's the same sort of principle. Everybody's going to die. And it's very much, you're watching it just happen on the screen. It's unfolding in so many different ways. It just captivates you to think, well, that went sideways. What's happening next?
But the thing though, there is zero character development. You get to learn nothing at all about any
and you don't know
character.
about any of these characters, but what happened
Are they
before
married?
they came to Outpost 31?
What is their job? I mean, the guy doing the autopsy, I'm guessing he's some sort of medical dude. Kurt Russell briefly mentioned he was a pilot.
There's a fella who likes dogs.
Yeah.
He's the
And
dog
there's
wrangler.
And there's a guy there who's just a stoner. I don't know what his job is.
And they really do not like Norwegians.
No.
Because they shoot and kill all of the Norwegians at the beginning.
Well, no, one blows himself up.
Oh, that's
and
true.
the other one gets killed with, I suppose, hatred of Norwegians and bullets.
I don't understand what he's saying. Shoot him.
Do you know what he's screaming at the beginning?
What?
It's not a dog in Norwegian.
Oh, right, is that what he's
That's
saying?
what he's shouting.
It's not a bloody dog.
But no one can understand him because he's speaking bloody Norwegian.
That's mad. That
It's interesting that you what you're saying there, because I can't think of another film off the top of my head where you have so little invested with the characters.
A little bit off topic here, but in regards to like a film doesn't necessarily have to have character development. I think sometimes if you want to feel for the characters, you've got to have that. But this is not about that. This is about some people in a crappy situation. A modern film that did something very similar was Dunkirk.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, no one sits around a campfire at a night going like, oh, I got a baby just being born at home or anything like that. You know nothing about these soldiers. It's all about
Star Trek does.
It's all about the situation.
If a guy starts talking about in Star Trek, talking about his young family and all the rest of it,
He's wearing red.
and he's wearing red, he's going to die.
Exactly.
And some films try to do the character development so badly, and they start explaining about their life, and you're thinking, he's dead. It's like, did you know? And surely within like
I got a new baby.
within 60 seconds, anyone with a new baby's totally dead.
They're the emotional punch for the new parents and the audience.
Yeah. I don't know why filmmakers need to have them describe their life rather than show their life. Because the second they start describing it, you know,
Well, yeah, because all films are supposed to show, don't tell.
it's like a war.
Yeah.
It's like a war film. You know, where they'll be in the trenches and that kid gets his wallet out and it's got a picture of his girl back home. You know that kid's dead because there's no other reason to do it.
One of the best, sorry, this is deviating a little bit as well, but one of the best show don't tell is Pixar's Up, the montage
At the beginning.
where they show you the life together, and and not a single word's uttered, but everybody gets it. And they can get across more by just showing you. Really, what this is like, it's like being on a roller coaster and getting the big like whoa when
The couch scene.
like the couch scene when one of the characters' head opens up and swallows some other guy's head, and it's like being on a roller coaster where you're going and you tense up, and it's more like a ride than it is a film. You're there to
I'm not
shock yourself.
I'm not going to lie. When that scene came up, and it was like they're sitting on the couch, you're sitting on the couch. It's literally like you're sitting there thinking, I know how that feels. I would want you feel as if
I don't know how that feels, mate. I'll tell you here and now, I have no idea how that would have felt.
No. I'm just saying, when you're looking on the screen, like I'm looking at.
The only time I've ever felt like that is when I spilled a hot curry on myself.
No, but when you're looking on the screen, you're sitting there and you're watching this thing, you can feel the emotion running through the guy, and it's sitting there and you're thinking, can you imagine? It feels as if almost it could be sitting next to you and you're thinking, how would you be reacting? Because I know for sure.
Yeah, if you were tied to a couch next to somebody who may or may not burst open at any moment and try and drag you in to assimilate you.
It becomes so absolutely crazy. It becomes like so terrifying to watch. It becomes so funny at the same time. It was a funny moment, that like.
So all those characters are all disposable to get you from A to B, really, aren't they? Yeah. They're going, there's an alien, what's one of these guys, and we're going to pop them off in creative ways until we get to the last two. And then we're never going to let you know who it was.
Yeah.
Or it might not have been either, but you're never going to know.
But they were both willing to die at the end.
Yeah.
It's a paranoia movie.
Well, that's it. I mean, you never really... we know the dog is the thing when it's running from the Norwegians. And at that point, we never really see who the first person to get infected is. We know that the dog walks into a room and you see a silhouette on a wall, but that is no one in the movie. That silhouette is like some randomer that they had
from before.
Just some randomer that they had silhouetted against the wall, whose hair was made to look like one character, whose build was made to was like another character. So you would never be able to know who was the first person to be assimilated.
I honestly think Reservoir Dogs did a better job for the paranoia movie.
I don't know, because we all knew Tim Roth was a cop, didn't we?
No, you don't get to know.
You do. It tells his whole backstory, like at one point in the movie.
Near the end,
It's about halfway through, isn't it?
you get to
Do
find.
you know what? We need to do Reservoir Dogs for one of these.
We should do Reservoir Dogs next.
I've got it on 4K.
Or The Hateful Eight.
Let's do them all. Let's do all Tarantino movies. Back on track. Right, we're hardly talking about the thing.
Keep on topic.
The
Keep
thing.
on topic.
Let's talk about the thing. So what I really liked about the what I really liked about the visually was when they were outside.
That's what I like to know.
And it's all the blue
sun.
lights and the red flares on the white snow and all the lens flares and all that. It's actually a pretty nice film to look at.
Do you know
and
what?
colourful, even though it's in.
Yeah, but do you know? It's really
tundra of-
I think it's just a seriously cheap. Like I think
It's not. It wasn't. This is probably one of his more because
This wasn't cheap.
No,
It's not a cheap movie to make.
No. But
Reservoir Dogs was.
set location. I really do think. I know it was like it will have been expensive to be there and all the rest of it. But the shots that they use, they look very cheap because the only shots that they use are very close shots. They're either indoors in rooms for a lot of the time, or in different areas. And then you've got the other shots, which are wide pan shots outside. And the wide pan shots outside is where everything pretty much gets torched.
Well,
and the most expensive stuff, I think, went on to the animatronics. So you only really do see two different
the
locations.
animatronics, Adam, would have been eye-wateringly expensive,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it
without
still is
doubt.
if you do them now.
But the with the indoor shots, do you not reckon that's more of a creative choice to keep everything claustrophobic
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
rather than
you can't escape.
yeah,
I mean, they literally board the windows and the doors shut at one point.
because once they get outside and they're outside, they still can't escape because if you walk off into the sunset,
Yeah, you walk 5 miles one way, you freeze to death.
You're
You walk
dead.
5 miles the other way, you freeze to death.
you walk inside, you're dead.
I honestly would have taken my chances, and it was the same. We were watching it. You would have thought there would have been one count at the beginning of the film when the first find the thing, going, peace out, I'm out of here, I'm walking home. Like, I don't care if I freeze to death, because that would have been realistic. But what they did actually show was after discovering this deformed monster inside a dog, literally within 20 minutes of sitting down playing cards.
It wasn't inside a dog, was it? They went to the Norwegian camp and they brought back that thing. And then they were playing cards because that dog was still walking around under the table.
that's right.
Yeah, I knocked
Yeah.
out the guy's leg.
But something else which annoyed us was when you put the dog in the kennel, and then you turn out the lights, and then he comes back, and it's turned into a giant monster, and he's freaking out, and at no point does anybody go, better turn the lights back on.
True. It added to the atmosphere. But as well, did you not think it was a bit odd how, I mean, no one really freaked out when they saw this mangled Norwegian body where it was like two faces all melded into one. No one kind of went, what is that? Let's get out of here and leave it.
Yeah, they
don't take it with us.
They took it back to the base camp and began playing cards.
But didn't the scientists sort of turn around and go,
It's a find of a century.
it's a find of the century, and that was it.
Let's play cards.
Yeah.
And then that guy who's like the find of the century, didn't he get like sucked up by it and made one? He was wandered out in the snow when they torched him.
Aye, the ginger guy.
The ginger guy. He looks like, who did you say he looks like?
Alec Guinness, wasn't it?
Alec
It
Guinness.
looks exactly like Alec Guinness. Aye.
So there you go. There's a level of investment in character identification that we have.
Everyone's like, that guy.
that ginger guy.
Is that guy called? That ginger guy?
That guy. Aye, if you weren't Kurt Russell.
Everybody's
David.
expendable. It's
Nah.
literally every character's expendable. You go,
Yeah.
who do I know? That's Kurt Russell. He's not going to die. Everyone else is dead.
Yeah. Kurt Russell's beard is the main attraction.
Ideally, if you're going to make a film like that, everyone should be like an unknown actor, because then you'll be like, who is it? Because you instantly know it ain't Kurt Russell.
Yeah, aye. Mind you, what was that film with Samuel L. Jackson where he was at the shark and he gets eaten?
Deep Blue Sea.
And it's and
Like halfway through the movie.
and you think, he's going to be all right, and they just wipe him out. I think that's good.
When
you,
some of the most horrendous CGI in a movie. It's crap.
What film's that?
Deep Blue Sea.
He's talking.
I don't think I've seen that.
He's talking, and all of a sudden, this shark jumps out of this like marine pool.
It's like a
thing.
moon pool, isn't it? Or something like
Aye,
that.
and just cuts him in half.
Nice.
It's like this whole speech about, we're going to win! We're going to win! Ah! That's it, it's gone.
But the most memorable part of that film is the fact that he dies in that film halfway through because no one was expecting it. And I think that's what good films do. The upend your expectations. So if Kurt Russell had died like early on and he was the monster, he was the thing, I think it could have potentially been a better film. And if one of the lesser characters was the one to make it to the end.
See, I think it was really cool. Like you talk about the end, I think it was really cool that obviously the closing of the film is like you don't know. They're sitting around, they're sharing a drink. At the end of the day, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about the end of the like, you know, how that actually
is he drinking kerosene? Is he?
Yeah.
Is he? Is because why he's not walking? Is he walking around with a bottle of vodka or a bottle of whiskey or whatever it is, or did he have Molotov cocktails?
Yeah.
Yeah,
because that's what he was walking around throwing at everything, and it was like the final scene was like he's sitting there. You think, is he just drinking?
Because he passes the bottle to Keith David and he takes a swig out of it, and that potentially could have
he gives a little bit of a chuckle, you know, so, and then the movie ends. Boom boom.
So,
boom.
Wouldn't it be cool if there was a sequel?
Well, there was a planned sequel, but never happened.
There was a computer game as well, which we were talking about earlier on.
Yeah, the computer game came out in 2002 or 2003. I remember playing it at the time.
Not canon, though.
And it was terrifying. So I played about 15 minutes and I went, nope, that's not for me. And then
Yeah.
put it away.
So anyone who's played that computer game and successfully completed it, put something in the comments.
Let us know how it ended.
Because David hasn't got a clue.
I've
He's
not
a big
played it.
scare bear.
I remember the cover for that game because it was like a soldier or something, some guy with a gun running through the snow type of thing.
With no face.
Yeah, and it was all like a silhouette. Not a silhouette, but like you could see through the character type of thing. And then they re-released the movie on DVD and it had the game cover on it.
No worries.
I know the hell out of me that.
I
You
think-
know how I am with me physical media.
I think they probably pushed the game out because it was about the same time the remake came out, wasn't it? There was a remake done of the thing.
It was a prequel. It's about the Norwegian camp. It came out in 2011.
Do you remember who made the game?
So that, do you know that two-faced, do you know the two-faced creature at the beginning that they find? In that film, you see how that forms and then is promptly burnt.
Yeah.
So it's a cash grab.
It was well sort of. It was supposedly well produced. When they were making it, they made this big thing about how they were sticking to the original by using the same types of practical effects.
Yeah.
So they filmed it all with all practical effects and, you know, all this kind of stuff. And then something happened in post-production and they just overlaid CGI on all of the practical effects.
I bet the models team were steaming.
Oh, I bet. I mean,
I spent 3 years making these films.
They'll have been
Woo!
paid. They'll have been
I'd be
paid, but
pissed.
Because I remember watching a lot of the behind the scenes stuff on YouTube. Cause I never watched the newer version of the thing, but I did watch
Prequel.
or the prequel.
It's not a remake. It's not a newer version. It's a prequel.
I honestly thought it was
No, it's a
remake.
prequel, yeah.
But and it did look impressive. I mean, because they had like these huge set pieces for like that actors were going to be inside of.
Because that ends where, do you know where they're chasing the dog? Mm-hmm. That's where that ends. And then this one starts with them chasing the dog.
Yeah.
With some really good camera shots. It's not cheap flying a helicopter over. You obviously got to think of all that fuel. They released the film with that. So David's just held up a photo on his phone with a cover art from the game, and they released the movie with that. With that as its cover art.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I wonder how they got away with that, because that'll have been...
Well, because it'll have been part of some studio deal, wouldn't it?
It was part of Universal Interactive, I think.
And did Universal make this movie?
I don't know about Universal Interactive. I think they shut down. I think, and I don't know what happened to all of that stuff.
After the thing came.
well, the game got approval by the creator, so you got to think, well,
Oh, by John Carpenter.
Yeah, he approved the actual game apparently.
But
But I've never played the game. It's from what I said, it looks a little bit like Dead Space.
Yeah.
yeah, I think Dead Space owes a lot to the Thing, and
Well, from some of its creature designs, yeah, maybe.
How mad do you have to be for someone to come into a room and say, "Tell you what, I want a creature. I want it to look like a spider." But hang on.
Creative people. Creative
No.
Adam, that's not the way it works. Someone's went to go, I want something so scary it's going to terrify people. And they've worked, come with me down the corridor. Malcolm, this is Malcolm. Malcolm, do some drones. Tell them.
Do you know what? If you look at like the best creatures though in like movies and stuff like that, and when it comes to the scariest things, it's the things that look the least human that are the most unnerving, and that's what this is. It's just unnerving. It's just like it's just a mash of crap, really. But it looks so horrendous because it doesn't look like anything
yeah,
on this planet.
it's like uncanny because it does look human.
I mean, you totally forget it's about an alien
Yeah,
on Earth. Even though the film starts with an alien ship crash landed on Earth.
which you learn later on the film happened at least 100,000 years before the film started.
And at no point do you actually see, E.T.
Oh.
It's all just
So you don't know what it looks
just
like.
by touch.
Well, it's cells, isn't it? That's what it is.
So it's literally like a.
It's not even like an. It's probably started off as like a virus that just
got worse.
got because it takes over it and assimilates anything it touches. So it could be one cell that took over one cell in something, and then it completely copies that and is able to mimic it completely. So if it started off as a cell but then assimilated a sentient life form, does that mean it takes on all that knowledge because it can perfectly mimic it?
The thing.
And at the end, it's building a flipping spaceship.
Yeah, the thing must have a true form because it was in a spaceship, flying a spaceship.
No, it wasn't. Here's the thing, right? The 2011 movie, which is canon, the ship is not the Thing's ship. The Thing is is another alien civilization.
It wasn't Sigourney Weaver, was it?
That has gone out into the universe to capture and catalogue different forms of alien life.
Is that why the spaceship
And
crashed?
one of the things it's caught is the Thing, and it gets loose, and they crash the ship to stop it spreading.
That makes more sense.
So this cell or this organism could have assimilated something on that ship, and then all of a sudden it's gone from being this thing that they've captured to having all the knowledge of interstellar travel.
So all the aliens on the UFO that crash landed, they all died. But there's one thing
that crawled out of the ship. What happened?
That was picked up by
The Norwegians.
No.
the Intergalactic's Greenpeace
Aye.
going around collecting alien species.
That's exactly what happens.
That survived because it was just a virus.
Because it's every single cell is its own sentient being. And they can all come together to create one thing, or it can all shoot off and be its own thing.
And that's why the blood leaps out the petri dish.
Yeah, because everything is its own sentient thing.
I mean, that was cool, that though, wasn't it? When the blood jumped out the petri dish, and the anticipation around watching them do that, I was like, and it's just like,
The guy starts shaking in the seat.
and it's the quick camera, like going back and forth between each character. I mean, you don't know the names, you're not invested in whether or not they live or die, but you're literally going, is it him? Is it him? Because now you're part of the group of people that you're not infected, and you're watching this and you're going, yeah, if it is him, let's lock him outside.
But I think you say, like, you don't know the names, even though they all are written on the petri dishes.
Yes.
yeah.
But still don't remember.
But they
Yeah.
call everyone the names. They call everyone their second names throughout the entire movie. No one's called their first name. I can't even remember what Kurt Russell's character's called.
McCready, wasn't it?
McCready, that's it. McCready, Childs. No one's calling each other Bob or Dave.
Aye. You think if you were living around the Arctic Circle with people for that amount of time, you'd be like, all right, Trev, how's the snow today?
But they're not important. They're just the MacGuffins for this creature.
It's a great thing, like, when you think about it, like, location-wise, is you can't go anywhere. You know what I mean? You step outside.
That's a
it's
form
50
of claustrophobia, isn't it? You're trapped, basically.
But not only that, it's not.
so
just-
there's no flight. You've got to fight.
yeah.
Anyway, right. So I think we're getting close to the end here. So do we all want to go around and give our 4 takes on the thing?
Well, last time we did our worst bit and our best bit.
Yes.
Oh,
So who wants to go first?
Best bit.
Who's going to claim the couch scene as the best bit?
The best bit is definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, is the couch scene.
Yeah. Why?
Because it's amazing.
It's hilarious.
No.
What the best part about it is watching people who haven't seen it before, like Adam, because I videotaped Adam when he was watching it just to get his reaction. It was priceless. It is
Video available on request.
And what's your
worst bit?
The least favourite part?
least favourite part. There's just so many things in it which are just stupid. I would have been locked if it's some of the plot points. It just don't make any sense. When things were going really bad, anybody with half a brain would have just went, right, lads, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to my room, lock the door. I'll see you in the morning.
Right, your best bit's worst bit has lasted half of this remaining 5 minutes. What's your worst bit, the best bit?
The best bit is where the guy's head comes off and turns into the arachnid.
My best bit as well, so we're good on that.
Yeah,
right.
So that was I remember reading about it in SFX magazine. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
SFX?
Yeah. And they were talking about how they got that shot, and what they did was rather than the legs coming out of the head, the legs were already out, and they drew them in, and then played the whole thing in reverse, and that's how it looked made. And that a lot of the shots where these tendrils seem to sort of like go out and grab something,
Reverse.
they were already in place, and then they reversed them to get that that whipping, movement on them, which I thought was really clever.
Worst bit.
Worst bit. I think the CPR scene where the guy puts his hands in, and it's quite obviously it's like a matte painting going, or it's a composite image of his hands going in, and the more of this the guy's chest cavity opening up to bite his hands off. It kind of looks disjointed.
Can I have another worst bit?
No. Adam, we've got like 1 minute and I haven't even got to my worst bit.
I was saying, well, we've got time. We've got time.
Right, my worst bit.
You go first.
Because mine's the head bit. I like the head bit.
Yeah.
For me, favourite bit. The worst bit I feel is when that Norwegian fumbles the grenade at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And throws it behind himself.
Yeah.
I was like, you dick.
How do you mishandle a grenade so badly?
Yeah, you deserve to die.
Yeah. Anyway, that's that. Adam?
So is this my best and worst bit?
Yep.
Oh,
Yes.
Right, okay. So I think the best bit for me was I really did find the couch scene really quite funny. But I think the worst bit is where he obviously loses his head.
The worst bit?
I think that was the worst bit for me.
That's the best bit?
Are we talking worse in terms of quality of visual effects, or worse in that
Well,
it's going to give you nightmares for the rest of your life?
Well, this
Even
is a
visual
concept-
effects, that was unbelievably good.
It was unbelievably good, but it was a worst.
So it's a nightmares.
So it's the nightmare scenario between that and
So it's done its job.
so it paid off. If I'd gone and paid at the cinema to go see it, I would definitely feel and left and thought, tell you what, I got my money's worth there, because I tell you what, I left with some humorous, funny stuff, looking at it back going, it was funny. I was invested. They had me on the journey.
No one's ever watched this and think it's funny.
Yeah.
I did.
I mean, the couch scene for me will always be funny, just because of everyone's reaction when they kind of all trying
Come on, let me go! Let me go!
they're all trying to like move away from this guy who's split down the middle, and they're like just freaking out, and there's nothing they can do. Everyone's just attached to the couch.
It wasn't necessarily that made it funny for me. It was a case of he was freaking out and he was going absolutely mental about it.
Who?
And he's the guy attached on the couch who really, really didn't want to be attached there.
What was his name?
Was
sure-
it Childs?
Highly possibly.
Do we remember?
So I'll look back and think that was a great scene, but it wasn't necessarily that, and it was the fact that the guy standing with a flamethrower,
And it wouldn't work.
and it was like, what a time for all that not to happen for you. And he's sitting there going, and I don't know whether it was, and it didn't. The camera didn't pan back to him to show his problem that he had. It just carried on filming the guy who was freaking out.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
well,
it was like-
to be
like,
fair, that's
who
where the
cares?
action was.
That's exactly.
Yeah, it was like, who cares? His gun ain't working to kill this zombie that's next to him.
Let's focus on McCready and his fuel to oxygen ratio valve. While all his shit's kicking off over here.
Yeah, let's just go back and look. Let's watch the guy freak out because, at the end of the day, that's the money shot. And like, it's like, just pretend your gun's knacked and we're just going to let this guy freak out for 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
No.
Can you imagine turning up on set and then now being told that's going to happen? I mean, Jesus Christ, you would freak out, wouldn't you?
Quite possible. So, right, lads.
Let's pick a film we know more about next week.
Yeah.
And
Reservoir Dogs.
let's we did this last time. What film do we want to watch next?
An 80s comedy.
An 80s comedy.
I would reckon, yeah, I would say we're in the 80s. Generally.
Big.
I never really liked Big.
Not big then.
Well, that's
Bachelor Party.
That's a good point.
Bachelor Party.
That's Tom Hanks.
I've seen that as well. Eddie Murphy.
Trading Places.
Trading Places.
Bearing in mind,
quite
folks,
good.
anybody listening who thinks like they've got better ideas of what we want to sort of hear.
Oh, yeah. Like,
Please.
Oh, no. Stop. The Goonies.
Or The Goonies. I could talk with it. Well,
you could do the Goonies, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's
Was it-
got some comedy in it.
She
It's a bit of action.
She
It's
would do the Goonies.
The Goonies.
and The Goonies is interesting because there's lots of different things to talk about in The Goonies.
Yeah, it's problematic.
But as we say,
Oh, there's loads of interesting facts about The Goonies.
Right, The Goonies it is.
right. Well, but
Okay, so, all right. So, next week, or the next podcast,
Yeah.
yeah,
we will be talking about the Goonies. So, this evening, I've been Luke.
I've been David.
I've been Martin.
and I am Adam.
And thank you for tuning in to the Four Takes podcast.
Ta-ra.
Booyah!